Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that knows that if you lose by 17 runs or more, you forfeit your chance to be talked about on the show. I'm Dallas, that's Matt, and that's Drew. And yes, Fan Corner will be shorter than usual today, as the team that shall not be named on this show this week have been eliminated from Fan Corner contention for at least 1 week. They're in timeout. And so later on this episode, we will also talk about some close awards races in both the AL and the NL. We're going to give our thoughts on who we got in some close races as the last month of the season kicks off here shortly. But first, as I say, we are in the last month of the baseball season, the baseball regular season anyway. And right now, there are some division leaders who are getting real cozy in their division leading spot. And there are some wildcard teams that are getting real cozy with the idea that they will be in the playoff come October. So what we want to do today is take a couple of those teams down a peg. So what I've asked the fellas to do is to prepare one team from the AL and one team from the NL who is currently leading their division, who they think is most likely to lose that division lead, and one team from the AL and one team from the NL who is currently in the wildcard position, who will drop out of the playoff picture altogether. So another way to frame that is I'm from the future. I'm telling you that one of these teams is going to lose their lead. One of these teams is going to drop out of the picture. You're telling me based on that who your guess would be. So let's tarry no further. Let's get to it. Let's start with the AL and with Drew. So let's start with the division winner. So which division leader who's leading today, this is Thursday, August 28th, so which division leader in the AL is not going to be a division winner at the end of the season?
Yeah, so my three choices would be the Blue Jays leading the East, the Tigers leading the Central, and the Astros leading the West. And I know this may seem like the easy answer because they do have the smallest division lead right now, but I truly believe it's the Astros out west. I think they could lose that division to the Mariners, currently sitting 2 games behind them in the standings. And the Mariners have a fairly easy schedule remaining. Now, the Astros don't have a tremendously tougher schedule than the Mariners, but they do have a big series with the Blue Jays coming up in a couple weeks, and I think that is going to be a real tough challenge for the Astros that the Mariners don't have to face. And they play each other in a big series right towards the end of the season. So with only a 2-game lead, and the Mariners, they've been kind of up and down this year. They're kind of in a slump right now where, not like playing horrible, but not playing to their best. And they haven't been able to gain much ground on the Astros, even though the Astros have been playing mediocre also. So the Astros did just get back Yordan Alvarez. That should be a boost to their lineup. But I just kind of think, like I felt all year, the Mariners are a little bit of a better team than the Astros, and it was just a matter of time. We're cutting it close, but I still think the Mariners have a good shot at taking that division.
Yeah, and so when it comes to the Mariners, let's talk about them for a second and what makes us optimistic about the Mariners here. They've been in a position where they've held a tight division lead, or they've just been trailing by about half a game and really haven't closed the deal or held on to the lead for too long. And so, what is it about the Mariners that makes you think, either of you, think that they might, have the juice to finally make that push that they haven't quite been able to make all year long?
I mean, I think for me, I'm just coming off a Padres versus Mariners series where they beat us in the series. It's still the pitching at the end of the day. Their numbers have been worse than they were last year, and we get that. Their health has been worse than last year. We get that. At the end of the day, they've got Andres Munoz. He's an awesome closer. They have a bunch of really solid starting pitchers. I mean, Brian Wu, he had that streak of 6 innings and whatever quality start streaks that he was only, I think, 4 or 5 away from matching like Nolan Ryan's record. And granted, he didn't get it against the Padres. He went 5 2/3. But it's like they have such good pitching, and I think when you think about like this final stretch towards the end of the season, teams are fatigued and their rotations are stretched, their bullpens are stretched. You got to have the guys who can come out and actually eat innings and give your team a chance. And Houston has a few of those guys, but I think they have less. Like overall, I think they just have less than the Mariners do. And I mean, you add in Suarez, you add in Naylor, you obviously have, in my opinion, the AL MVP, Kyle Raleigh. Like, you have all these pieces plus the pitching staff. Like, it should be their thing to lose, if you asked me.
Yeah, I agree. The pitching is the number one thing with the Mariners, despite the fact that their offense has played pretty well this year. I think that's just more of a bonus than anything because I think that pitching staff is one down the stretch that you can rely on. And, whether they win the division or not, I imagine they'll be in the playoffs, and that is a rotation that you do not want to match up against in the playoffs. So I have a lot of faith in the Mariners.
Yeah.
Great. So let's stick in the AL and let's talk about an AL wildcard team that you see falling out of the playoff or you see could fall out of the playoff picture. You don't necessarily have to have a team that's going to come up and replace them. Just which team do you think is the most vulnerable in that wildcard position right now? So Drew, give us your AL wildcard team that you think might not make the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe a bit of a cop-out because I kind of think right now it's the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Mariners in that order. They're all pretty close together. And then the next closest team is the Royals, who are 3 games back. I just kind of don't think it's going to change. Like, maybe the order will change slightly, but I don't think that, like, the Royals or the Rangers after them are going to surpass one of these 3 teams. I just don't. But if I had to pick a team that I just don't have as much faith in of all these teams, it would have to be the New York Yankees. I mean, they have gone through a stretch where they haven't beat a current playoff team in a series since May. So they're as good as anyone beating up on the bad teams. We saw that they just swept the Washington Nationals in dominating fashion. But when they played the Red Sox this past weekend, and spoiler alert for Fan Corner, they lost 3 out of 4 of those and kind of embarrassed themselves, similar to the World Series last year where the Dodgers just made them play baseball and they couldn't do it very well. So I don't think the Yankees are a very fundamentally sound team. I think they're very live and die by the home run, which is great when your home park is Yankee Stadium. But I just don't think they have the juice. I don't think they have the starting pitching. Their super bullpen has been disappointing, to say the least. And they do weird stuff. They don't play their best players. They defend Anthony Volpe till they're blue in the face, and, he really hasn't done much to deserve any kind of defense this year. Their best players right now, like Giancarlo Stanton, has been doing very well, but, like, you watch him, he can barely move. Like, he can hit the ball very hard still. That's great. But he's been playing a lot of right field because Judge hasn't played the field yet since coming back from injury. Judge hasn't been the same since coming back from injury. He's been a fine hitter, but not, like the all-world greatest hitter we've ever seen like he was in the first half. So if I had to pick a team that I just don't trust, it's the Yankees. Now, unfortunately, they play a lot of easy teams the last month of the year. So there's not a ton of hope that they're going to fall off because, like I said, they do take care of business against the weak teams for the most part. But, yeah, I just, if I'm a Yankees fan, I've seen Yankees fans' takes on Twitter where they're like, it would almost be better if we missed the playoffs because then management would have to consider making changes. And it's kind of been the same old thing for the Yankees where it's just lackluster baseball, good enough to make the playoffs. And like last year in a weak playoff field, they made it all the way to the World Series. But once you get there, it's a different story. And, the Yankees fans are embarrassed.
Yeah, and to be very clear, they are notably worse than last year. Notably worse. So, like, the whole, like, oh, well, we made it to the World Series last year. It's like, great. And then got worse. And
No Garrett
Yeah,
Cole this
I
year. No Juan
no Juan
Soto.
Soto. Like, I mean, that right there, it's your ace and arguably your best or second best hitter. So, like, at the end of the day, I totally agree with you. I think the Yankees for sure are the most vulnerable. Like, looking at the other teams in this playoff race, they're only a few games ahead. Realistically, they're what, 2.5 ahead of like the Royals?
4.5.
4.5, sure. Math's hard. But like, there's teams that could come in and definitely make a push for it. I'd like to see it, you know, down with the Yankees, but who's to say?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point. It could be, good long term for the Yankees organization if they miss this year somehow, if by some sort of, cataclysmic collapse that it would require for them to miss this year in the last month. But, ultimately, I think in order to hold on to that spot, it's just going to have to be down to, um, getting Judge, fully back to normal. And like Drew said, putting your best players out there, like you have to understand that you're in a position now where you are a contender this year in a AL that is a little bit, less than competitive after a certain point, right? There's a drop off. And so, being the fact that you are a contender, some hard decisions might have to be made, and that involves telling guys who have contributed in some way to the team all year round that right now we need to make a run, and you are not the player that puts us in a position to make a run. And so, ultimately, if they do make the playoff, we might see that happen when the playoff roster gets, put out. They might make those decisions, but for now, it certainly seems like they're still trying to get guys going that maybe just all season long have just been okay. But yeah, okay, so great. So there's the AL, and now we'll go over to the NL, and Matt will help us out there. So let's start with the division leader, who you think is most likely to lose their division lead by the end of the season in the NL.
Yeah, I think the answer for this is, eerily similar to what Drew had with the Mariners in Houston. And the answer for the NL is the Dodgers, and purely because of how close the division is. And for really no other reason, right? The Dodgers were second place in this division a week ago. And it's kind of flip-flopped a few times since then. So definitely, I think the Dodgers are the biggest risk to fall out of it. They have a slightly more difficult schedule than the Padres do down the stretch. And again, not saying a ton. They're both pretty easy schedules. But at the end of the day, it's a 2.5 game, lead that is, a lead that is vulnerable. At the same time, it's not like a small lead. So we'll see. The Brewers just have too big of a lead at this point, and the Cubs just got swept by the Giants. That's not going to do them any favors. The Phillies may have lost Zach Wheeler, but at the end of the day, I don't trust the Mets. Like it's got to be Dodgers Padres, right? Like that's the race. I feel like people have been talking about equally to Houston and the Mariners. Honestly, I feel like those are the two races that have been talked about all year. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think it works in the Padres' favor that they're done playing the Dodgers in the regular season this year, because as good as the Padres have been, they've struggled against the Dodgers, last series notwithstanding.
Yep.
But a really interesting thing in the schedule is the very last series of the year for the Dodgers is in Seattle against the Mariners. And so, we could get down to that series and it's meaningless for both teams, but I'm more hoping for that to be an incredibly meaningful series for both teams.
That could potentially determine 4 teams' placements.
Right, yeah. So I'm very interested to see how much it ends up mattering and then what happens in that series. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the Brewers have a pretty safe lead in the Central. The Phillies, yeah, it sucks. Losing Zach Wheeler is a bummer. But they just, as we're recording, Kyle Schwarber hit 4 home runs in a game tonight. Like they're just a solid team, and the Mets, I just don't trust them as much. So
yeah.
I would agree. And it's crazy saying, what we were talking about the Dodgers at the beginning of the year, saying they're not a team we trust, but they haven't been this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to trust a team that's been as injured as the Dodgers have, to not have something like that happen again. And on that subject, before we move on from the Dodgers, they have set a return date for Hae-Sung Kim. He's going to be returning here at the beginning of September. So for you, if you were in charge here, who does Kim come in and who loses their spot when he comes back, if anybody, to you? Or do you bring him back as sort of a, platoon guy that you have on the roster? Where does he fit in a Dodgers team that's trying to, keep the lead down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole value of Kim, right? Is he can play so many different areas of the field defensively, and should be a solid lefty bat. I think if you were to look at the numbers and if you were to ask pretty much any Dodger fan at this point, they would say cut Conforto and let Kim take his spot in left field, or move him and bring Teoscar back to left field. They would some configuration of that. I don't know if that'll be the case. I think that would maybe be their best case scenario. Conforto has been bad, flatly. But we'll see. I mean, they've got a couple of these guys who I'm less familiar with. They've got, I don't even know his first name, but something Freeland. He was playing some third base for them. That's the whole thing. Hae-Sung Kim can pretty much play anywhere. So, where do they want better defense? That's where he'll go probably. But he also could just come off the bench and be the super utility man they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Alex Freeland because it seems like he's just like a minor league guy they've called up recently. And so that's the simple move. But I'm going to go outside the box here and say he's going to replace whoever gets hurt, because they've been a rotating door of guys getting hurt.
Call it, Drew. Who's getting hurt?
As soon as I mean, I don't want to wish
Call an
ill
injury,
on anyone.
Drew.
I won't be doing that. But I mean, it seems like every time they get some positive news, they take a step back with someone else getting hurt. I mean, they've just been ravaged with injuries, especially their pitching. They're kind of back. I mean, Blake Snell is back. Tyler Glasnow is back. Yamamoto's pitched basically this whole year. I don't even know if he missed any time. But, yeah, I mean, Muncie's been hurt. Tommy Edman's been hurt. Obviously, Kim, that's who we're talking about. Mookie has turned it around again. He kind of is looking like Mookie
better
again, which we all kind of thought maybe just a matter of time. But yeah, I mean, we saw the Dodgers go into the playoffs last year with a lot of injury concerns and roster construction issues, and they won the World Series. So I'm not going to count them out, but it's just not what the season they were hoping for.
Yeah, definitely not the they're going to be, it doesn't look like at this point, looking at all of September left, it doesn't look like they're going to be in a, position like, resting key starters the last full week and a half of the season, like maybe people thought they might be. They're going to have to battle this thing out. And so it'll be interesting to watch that unfold too. Kershaw also has had a pretty good month. He's looking nice up there, so that helps them for sure. But okay, so let's go and finish out this little exercise here and go to an NL wildcard team that you see falling out of the playoff picture entirely.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things, like Drew said, it's a bit of a cop-out because at this point, the playoff picture is seeming more and more locked up by the day. But the answer has to be the Mets. At the end of the day, the Cubs, yes, they got swept by the Giants. They have such a lead right now in the wild card race, and they're also still just a good team. I don't believe the Padres will fall off hard enough to lose their spot, especially given their strength of schedule. So for the sake of the exercise, I think it's got to be the Mets. They still have some vulnerabilities on their team, although recently they've been playing pretty well. And it really solidifies it because the Reds just, played the Dodgers and I believe got swept. And so they've really separated that gap there. But who knows? Maybe the Giants, man. They were the worst team in baseball post-Devers trade. Maybe they get hot at the end of the season and we get the three NL West playoff teams. They're
Yeah,
only 6.5 games behind the Mets.
I agree that if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be the Mets, and if it does happen, it's going to be because they're starting pitching. They just did not build up enough depth there, and I know they've had some prospects they've brought up, like Nolan McLean, and they called up this other guy. I'm going to blank on his name right now, but he was like the strikeout leader in AAA this year. Jonah something, I want to say. But so maybe that's the shot in the arm they need. Francisco Alvarez keeps getting hurt. Like, they are not, a flawless roster, but they have a 4.5 game lead over the Reds right now. Reds are not playing great. Mets are starting to turn it around. I just kind of think, like similar to the AL, the order could change. The division champions could be different, but the 6 teams in the playoff spots, I think, will be the 6 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. So yeah, it was interesting to take a look at some of these teams and what their weaknesses might be. It's a good pre-playoff preview for which teams we think might be at risk, vulnerable in the playoff and how. And so appreciate the participation in that little exercise there. But let's move on now to some more close races. We talked about close division races a lot in the last segment, but now we're going to talk about close awards races. So there are a few key races that are happening right now that going into the last month of the season, a lot of people are going to be keeping their eye on. And so we wanted to weigh in and see who we have coming out of those competitions sort of on top here. So let's start with one of the more hotly contested ones. This is one that in the beginning of the season, it seemed like there was a runaway winner, and now someone has had just a great season, put it together all the way through, and has one of those seasons where it's like a guy has to have his best season to beat this guy out for this award. And that is AL MVP. And the 2 guys I'm talking about are Aaron Judge, the incumbent AL MVP, and then the other guy in the race with him is Cal Raleigh, the catcher over from Seattle, who we've talked about a lot on this show this season, and rightfully so. He's having one of those years where he's playing well enough to beat a perennial MVP candidate. And so let's talk about that race and who we have taking the AL MVP award with a month to go in this really tight race here.
Yeah, I mean, flatly speaking, I think it's got to be Cal Raleigh. Like, at this point, Aaron Judge is awesome, and it is true. It's one of those types of players where it's like people need to have their career best years just to be in competition with him. And at the same point, it's like Aaron Judge has had to miss a little bit of time. Aaron Judge is currently not playing the field, and Cal Raleigh's been a starting everyday catcher. He's been one of the best defensive catchers, mixed with the fact that he's now set the all-time home run record for catchers in a season. Like, we're talking about a historic year versus just like a really great year for Judge. And sometimes I do believe there's merit in the award people who make history, even if, let's say there's a single statistic somewhere or something that's slightly more valuable. It's like, do I want to see Judge rack up MVPs? I'm not against it. I don't hate Aaron Judge. But at the same time, it's like we're probably not going to see a catching season like this again, in my opinion, for a long time, where a guy is truly great both ways. Because even Salvador Perez, I think the whole thing with him, a lot of people are saying is oh, well, half his games were DHing and yada yada. And it's that's still impressive, but Cal Raleigh's been doing it whilst playing. So I'm giving it to Cal. I think he's earned it. Aaron Judge can get it next year again. I think Cal's earned it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I was maybe where the field was kind of split amongst fans and who they thought should win MVP. I think you asked me 2 weeks ago. I think I would have said the other thing. I would have said Aaron Judge should win the award. But Cal has been better lately. They're in a virtual tie in FWAR, and Cal like Matt said, is having a historic catching season. He broke the record that was set by Salvador Perez. But Salvador Perez, his OPS plus the year he broke that record was 128. So 28% better than league average. Cal Raleigh this year is at 165. So it's not just the pop. He is just a really good hitter. And now the argument against is, well, Aaron Judge is at a 202 OPS plus. So like Judge is having, by most offensive statistics, beyond home runs, a better season than Cal Raleigh, but you have to take in all the factors. And Cal Raleigh playing elite defense at catcher and doing all this while leading, a team that is right in the playoff hunt. Aaron Judge, like for all his success, he hasn't come up in like the big moments for the Yankees the way Cal has for the Mariners. So I think you have to take in all these factors. And while it may be a bummer to be Aaron Judge and be like, well, just because you're used to it, like used to a season like this from me, doesn't make it worse. But we've seen it in the past, and I think it is fair. Like, Cal Raleigh, he's an awesome player. I doubt he'll ever have a season this good again because this is just an insanely good season. And I think he has garnered an MVP. Now, there is a month to go, so obviously there's time for it to change. But I think as of right now, and if it keeps trending in the direction it's trending, I think all of a sudden it might be pretty easily Cal Raleigh.
Well, there's a chance we're talking about Cal Raleigh hitting at this pace, home run number 60 or so in a final series against the Dodgers, like in a premier series like we were talking about. And it's like, how can you just turn and say that's not MVP worthy? Is like the gap in the quality of season for his position is so insane. Like, and yes, there's a month, a lot could happen. He could have a slump, whatever. I doubt it. Like, we've got what, like 20 something, 27, 26 games left, something like that. I could easily see him hitting another 10 plus home runs. Like, I could see it. And if he does that, we're talking about a catcher not just breaking 48 home runs, but then hitting 50 and then hitting 60. Like, there's just levels to it. And I don't know. I just think he's so deserving at this point. And Aaron Judge will get more. He's awesome. I believe he will continue to be awesome. Let Cal have his moment, man.
He is 33. We could be seeing the last super great Judge season. I'm not going to count on that, but...
You heard it here first. I mean, Red Sox fan Drew Knight calling the end of Aaron Judge supremacy.
Yeah. So it would be a an incredible individual accolade type season if Cal Raleigh were to be able to take home the MVP. He won the Derby, he's got the record, things like that. It would be a wonderful capper to a great individual effort season. Now, if his team can rally around his performance and try to make that even more special, that would be nice. But I think ultimately, that's what he might be looking towards is, playing, because, it's kind of a double, what's that called? I guess 2 birds with 1 stone or something. If he continues to play well enough to keep pace with Aaron Judge for MVP, the Mariners are going to continue to win. And so it's like, he gets both out of that. So, hopefully, I think we're all hoping for the Cal Raleigh MVP year. And so moving on to another race that maybe wasn't close, close enough to say it's like super close until recently it's been trending closer and closer. If you look at the odds is what I looked at when I was picking which wins to go with. And over the last few weeks, the odds have been getting narrower and narrower and narrower in this race in ways that others aren't. And that's for AL Cy Young. So Tarik Skubal is one pitcher who is in contention for it, in the lead for contention for it right now. But over the last few weeks, Garrett Crochet has been, inching up and up and up in the odds. And so if these kinds of trends continue, this race could be really close by the end of the season, and riders could have a decision to make, a real hard choice. So let's talk about it. Tarik Skubal versus Garrett Crochet for AL Cy Young. Who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, this is as close as it gets in terms of two starting pitchers. Crochet pitched today, so this is not fully up to date. But like as of yesterday, they were only .4 apart in WAR on Baseball Reference. Same amount of starts, basically the same amount of innings. The ERA is only .1 apart. The strikeouts are basically dead even. Crochet was slightly behind. Now with today's start, he went slightly ahead. I think the difference is if you have to pick something of like why one person needs to win it and the other person will get second place, is Tarik Skubal has walked way less guys, and he has a 3.9 walk percentage to Garrett Crochet's 6.3 walk percentage. That's really like the separator I have, because they've both been so dominant for their teams. They've both anchored a pitching staff that really needed anchoring, and they're power lefties that just go in and shove day in and day out. And I mean, like Crochet today, I've watched all his starts. Today was a start where he didn't quite have it. He still went 6 innings, struck out 7 guys, and only gave up 2 runs. So like that's his off day starts. He's only had one truly bad start. I know Skubal had kind of a deceivingly good start his last time out against the A's, where he gave up a grand slam, but only one of the runs was earned because there was errors beforehand. And I have no problem with that. Like that's how earned runs work. I'm not gonna be a Red Sox fan that complains about that, but at the same time, like Skubal, earlier in the season gets out of that jam, and he didn't do it this time. So with a month left and maybe 4 or 5 starts each left, I'm very curious to see how it plays out, but it is as close as it can be right now. And if I had a vote, it would go Skubal by a hair.
Yeah, I think when I look at both of these side by side on like the StatHead website, really the only number that looks even like remotely different from each other, because all of these are so like minuscule in differences, like the strikeouts per 9 being 11.2 to 11.5. Like it's almost so identical. The only number which coincides with what you said, Drew, is the whip, right? Like the whip has a little bit of a difference. That can be due to the extra walks that Crochet has, whatever. That's probably the only reason I would consider, Skubal by like just a shade. Because every single thing in this, and even like the ERA plus, which takes into account the ballparks, is super close. Like remarkably close. And so they have the exact same amount of games started, complete games. Their innings, according to this, are essentially .1 off. Like they couldn't be having more like matched seasons. So a very fun race to say the least. Like it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see, how how it impacts these two guys going down the stretch here. Like obviously that both of these teams, the Tigers maybe less so than the Red Sox, both of these teams really still pushing, to put together good starts, good games, and for their squads. And so I think when you take into account, the kind of expectations, the kind of pressure that were on these two guys to perform, I think that's another place where it's kind of even too, because the Tigers were a team that everyone expected to be good after last year's, effort that they made, and Skubal was going to be a big part of that. He did it, and the Red Sox were a team that everyone expected to be in this position that they're in right now at the beginning of the year, and Crochet was supposed to be a part of that, and he did it. And so you just think about these two guys, and it can't get closer. So, hopefully it stays that way, and we have a real choice on our hands by the end of the season. But any last thoughts on this before we move on? All good.
As a Red Sox fan, I don't care if Crochet gets first or second. I'm just glad he's on my team.
100%. And how. All right, so let's move on to the last race that we're going to talk about, which is Rookie of the Year in the NL. So this is kind of a three-horse race here. So we've got Cade Horton, Isaac Collins, and Drake Baldwin, kind of all swirling around this Rookie of the Year conversation. So let's take a look at these three guys who, maybe even people listening and then us for sure as well, perhaps haven't been paying a ton of attention to as the season's gone on. But here they are in discussion for this, this award. So let's take a look at them and then talk about who we got in this race here.
Yeah, so, looking at this with all three of these guys, obviously it's Cade Horton, it's Drake Baldwin, Isaac Collins. I don't know if it's just something I have towards the catcher position. I just feel like there's such an inherent value to that position because of the importance both defensively and offensively they can bring. So when I see the numbers that a rookie like Drake Baldwin is, performing at and putting out, I feel like I lean towards him winning this Rookie of the Year. I think my second pick would be Horton, just because, sub-3 ERA for a rookie on a team that's, leading the wild card and has been one of the best teams in baseball all year is very impressive. But I don't know. I haven't watched too many of these guys closely enough, but looking at the numbers, I can only bank on, at the beginning of the season when we played against the Braves, Drake Baldwin was killing us. He was one of the few players that was keeping them in the game against us when they had that crazy bad start. And so that kind of left an impression on me. And it's man, this guy's got a 800 OPS as a catcher, multiple 2.5 WAR. He's good, man. He's really good. So I think any guy, I would argue he's kind of overshadowed Sean Murphy, who I thought was a great catcher. Anytime you can overshadow a guy who is an established star, I think that bodes well for a Rookie of the Year campaign, because he's kind of made him not obsolete, but they could move on from him now, at any point.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Similar reasoning, this is sneaky the most interesting awards race, because there's no one who's head and shoulders outstanding. There's just a bunch of solid guys.
Yeah.
And Drake Baldwin, I think, big thing for me is he's been up the entire season. Now, Isaac Collins has basically been up the entire season, but that matters to me when it comes to Rookie of the Year. I think if you don't play the whole year, you really have to just dominate when you come up. And yeah, doing it from the catcher position is no joke. I think it does it when the offensive numbers are similar, or similar enough, I think that catching versus playing the outfield is a difference maker. And, Cade Horton, no disrespect to him either. He has been awesome for the Cubs. He's really helped them stay afloat in the second half when their offense was really struggling. He should get some votes. I imagine all three of these guys will get some first place votes. I think that could very well happen. But I think if it was me, I would give it to Drake Baldwin, who's doing it behind the dish, and he's having a really solid year. And something about that catcher, it's tough to do. So I think I just automatically give it a little bump.
For someone from someone who my favorite team has had if you combine his whole time in Anaheim, we've had an okay catcher for a couple seasons now. Even that makes a difference. So the impact of that position is huge. Logan O'Hoppe hasn't been very consistently high caliber player, but he's been good and okay, and even that makes a huge difference. So you guys are onto something there with that catcher position being having weight in a conversation like this. I think so. All right, so let's move on from those, award races to Fan Corner, where we are going to take an opportunity to talk about our favorite teams and fan out a little bit. So let's start in Boston with the Red Sox and talk about what's going on in old Red Sox land.
Yeah, it's it's so funny thinking back every week we do fan corner. I wonder how many times one week I'm happy, one week I'm sad, one week I'm happy, one week I'm sad. I'm happy this week. It's been a good week. After a little bit of a scuffle last week, they went into New York. They won 3 out of 4. Um, and I referenced this earlier, kind of embarrassed the Yankees. 3 different ways to win. One, like the first game was a close game where where Roman Anthony hit a big home run in the ninth inning, win that one. The second game, we won 1-0. Brian Bayo went 7 shutout. He's now like the live ball era leading ERA pitcher against the Yankees. Like that's absolutely insane. And then win a blowout in game 3 where the Yankees just totally shit all over themselves in the last inning. We did lose the finale, but anytime you go to New York and take 3 out of 4 is a good thing. And then 4 in Baltimore, a team that just came to Boston and beat us in a 2-game series, and we took all 4 of those games as well. Roman Anthony is just on fire right now. It's crazy because at the time when we were clamoring for him to be called up, the big concern was, well, that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie, a 21-year-old, to, save the season. And he basically has done that. So, I mean, that's just awesome. Crochet, Giolito, and Brian Bayo have all been they're like 3 of the top 5 ERAs since June 10th or something like that. The back end of the bullpen, Aroldis Chapman is having his best year he's ever had, which is just crazy to think about. He's 37 years old. He just decided to stop walking people. I think that's the big difference. So yeah, it's exciting, and we got the Pirates this weekend, and the biggest excitement of right now is that it was announced a couple hours ago. We're calling up our current top prospect because all those other prospects that I talked about throughout the year have graduated. Our current top prospect, Peyton Tolley, is going to pitch against Paul Skeens at Fenway Park tomorrow night. That's going to be thrilling because we know about Paul Skeens, of course, but Peyton Tolley, he was a second-round pick last year out of college, out of TCU. Didn't pitch any professional baseball after they drafted him last year. So this year he started in high A, and now he's made it all the way to the big leagues just in one season. That's pretty crazy in itself. He's a lefty with just like elite stuff. That's pretty awesome. And right now, I don't have a 4th starter, let alone a 5th starter that I feel very comfortable with on the Red Sox. Walker Buehler got demoted to the bullpen. Dustin May is very sketchy up there. Guys have been getting hurt. I really think Peyton Tolley is the guy who gives us the best chance at winning. And so I'm excited to see what he's got. And if he's got what we hope he does, then there's your 4th starter for the playoffs right there. So I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I think I've given up on the division, but then I sometimes peek at it, and it's only 3.5 games right now. We do have one more series against the Blue Jays. Like, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen, but I'm optimistic right now. I'm excited about the Red Sox as we approach September for the first time in 4 years. So that's cool.
That is, that in and of itself is remarkable. All right, so let's go right to San Diego and talk about the Padres. So, Matt, what's going on down in San Diego?
It's funny that Drew started off this whole thing with it feels like every other week I switch it up on I'm feeling good, I'm not feeling good. And I literally have written right at the top of my show notes, I lied about feeling good. I hate it. I hate it here. This series, I don't know what it was, but both times we've played the Mariners have been so discouraging in the way that we've lost our games. And I did find it interesting because I was looking at the standings when we were doing our thing earlier, and the Mariners of every playoff team right now have the best record against over 500 teams. They have the best record against winning teams. Who's on the flip side of that? These guys. We have the worst record against 500 teams when it comes to the playoff teams. And I don't know, I watched that series and our pitchers are no good. Like, it just feels like, there's this Twitter account I follow, Divine Sports Gospel, and they coined this thing with Jurickson Profar called Dog Plus. Feels like none of our guys have Dog Plus. Like, every single one of our guys that goes out there, sans Pavetta and King maybe, they just look like they're scared every time they throw the ball. And, I see Dylan Cease, he's got these dominating pitches, and yet he can't go out there and just challenge dudes anymore. He constantly is trying to, play these little, he's trying to play the game right, I suppose, but he's been racking up pitches. He doesn't get deep into games, and by the time he finally gets, a guy to, 3-1 or 3-2 in a count, he has to throw a fastball down the middle, essentially, and it seems like every single time he's out, he'll get 3 or 4 innings in and then just get nuked. And just absolutely nuked. And in our one of the games against the Mariners, it was 2-3 home run shots in the same inning. The Padres have 3-run home runs this year, and they got 2 in 1 inning. And so it's just I don't know. And then, Ramon Laureano, he finally played in the 2-hole, which is insane, but it was because Luis Arraez took a day off. And he's been arguably our best player, maybe besides Tatis. But Tatis has been amazing in really non-spectacular ways. And this whole thing is just frustrating because, Mike Shildt refuses to move Luis Arraez out of the 2-hole. My favorite thing I've seen in maybe all of sports Twitter is the nickname that Luis Arraez has gotten with Padres fans. Because everyone loved to compare him to Tony Gwynn, just the batting average champion. But his new nickname with Padres fans is Phony Gwynn, and that's what they've been calling him everywhere. And I love it because he's awful. He's been truly awful. And I still believe he could have value to a team. I think his skill set is inherently valuable. I think his approach has been really bad. I think hitting him at the number 2 hole has been a mistake this year. They showed with Tatis on base, Luis Arraez is 2 for his last, I think, 39, with Tatis on base ahead of him. So it's like an automatic out every time Tatis gets on base. And Tatis is having one of his best years in terms of OBP. He's been an awesome leadoff guy for us. And then Luis Arraez comes, watches 3 pitches. 2 of them are going to be straight down the middle, and he just stands there, does not even move. He does his little statue bit, and then he'll pop a few foul balls over left field and then hit into a double play. It's super frustrating, and I'm getting to this point because this whole time I've been like, maybe we really can push the Dodgers. Maybe we can do it. We have the advantage in the schedule. Our players are good. They've been dealing with health issues. And then I watch us have to rely on Mike Shildt, who also refuses to play Ryan O'Hearn every day. Which, why did we make this big trade for Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano just to play them in, the 7th and 6th hole and barely play these guys? Because why do we, I'm about to, crash out. It's been a rough little series going back-to-back Dodgers and Mariners. I'm sure I'll feel good next week. But until then, we'll see. We're a game back from having home field advantage in the wild card, so that's good. We're a game behind the Cubs at this point, but I don't know. They bummed me out this past week. They bummed me out.
And what I'll offer for Fan Corner is I don't want to hear it about being bummed out about either of your teams. So I don't want to hear it. But I wasn't kidding. The Angels are in Fan Corner timeout because they have played just disastrously over the course of the last week. They don't deserve any of our time this week, so maybe next week we can bring them back, and there can be something good to talk about. But let's move on though. To our locked in segment, which is where we make some predictions for the next week of play. So let's talk about last week's prediction first. We'll start with Drew. So last week's prediction was that the Dodgers would sweep the Padres in their series. This was a little reverse jinx attempt from 2 weeks ago, the show before the first. Not the first Padres-Dodgers series, but the first of the two back-to-back ones. So let's talk about how that prediction went, and then talk about your prediction for this week.
Yeah, so I predicted the Dodgers sweeping the Padres, and I did that as an act of goodwill because the week prior I predicted the Padres to sweep the Dodgers, and the opposite happened. I was close to it working. Padres won the first two games and lost the series finale. If you just listen to Matt, you might not realize they beat the Dodgers in a series, but they did. But
Right.
anyway, we'll call that a fail. I failed no matter which way you slice it. But this week, I decided that, as part of our earlier conversation, I think this is the week that the Mariners take the step, close the gap, and take over possession of first place in the American League West. Now, I'm not saying that'll be for the rest of the season, but I think they could have the lead a week from now, and they'll need a little bit of help from their old buddies, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, as the Astros are playing them this week. So Angels will shock some people a little bit. I mean, who can say shocked? They swept the Dodgers twice this year, so, but and the Mariners will, continue playing good ball, and I think they could be in first place. We could have our first standing shakeup in quite a while, and I think besides the Dodgers and Padres kind of flipping spots, the other standings have stayed pretty much the same, so be cool to see.
Yeah, I would love to see that start as soon as possible. Like the Mariners Astros flip flop of now it's you, now it's us, now it's you, now it's us. I would like to see that start as soon as possible. So hopefully that does take place this week. And yes, it would mean that the Angels get a couple dubs in there, against the Astros this weekend, if that were to happen, which, would be nice for the morale over here. So let's go over to Matt.
Maybe even do Fan Corner.
Maybe they would even make their way back to Fan Corner. Who's to say? But let's go back to Matt and talk about your prediction from last show, which was that Cal Raleigh would hit his 50th home run against the Padres. And then talk about your prediction for this week as well.
Yeah, I don't know where the fate changed for me when it came to the prediction game, because let me tell you, that was his first at-bat against the Padres that he hit his 50th home run. Freaking nailed it, right? And I followed that up. I was doing the fill-out for our rundown. It was like yesterday or the day before. And what did I write? I wrote, Micah Parsons will be traded this week before the NFL season starts. And in parentheses, I literally had said something about, the Packers. And I literally was texting someone saying I thought the Packers. Lo and behold, today, before we film, Micah Parsons get traded to the Packers. So I have to scramble a little bit. I have to get a new one. I don't know what I really want to predict, but I'll do something to keep the faith. I think Phony Gwynn goes on a tear, and he's going to hit 500 this week. He's going to start getting back to his old ways. He's going to make a case to stay on this team next year. It's the last year of his contract. He needs a job.
Last time you predicted a Padres player to have a good week, I believe the last time that happened, you did that. Xander Bogaerts hit a home run like 2 hours later. So I think you have a good track record so far. So let's hope for Luis Arraez's sake that you are correct here. All right, so we'll follow up.
A lot of my predictions get quick results, negatively or positively.
Very, very fast results. Even all the trade wins from before, it was like, well, that's probably not going to happen because the trade deadline isn't for another 2 months. But I appreciate the effort there as well. So even those ones were fast on the turnaround. But this Micah Parsons one that you had, that was the fastest one yet. But yeah, and that's what you get for going away from baseball. Like they were just like, no, you have to make a baseball one. We're gonna make this one come true, and then it invalidates it, so you have to make a baseball one. All right, so we will check in on those predictions again next week when we have our next episode. But before we go to Dingers and Stingers, we have a quick update on the results of the home run draft. So for the uninitiated, at the beginning of the baseball season, Drew and Matt both picked teams position by position, full of position players, and we were going to keep track of how many home runs those players hit. They also picked pitching staffs, and so the position players, the home runs that they hit were positive points. The pitching staff, for every 3 home runs that a pitching staff gave up, it was a negative point. And so we're going to add those up and see where the totals are at the end of the year. We are 1 month away from the end of the season, so let's get our update on where we're at as far as that competition goes as of today.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom. Home runs given up should have been counted as, instead of like 3 equals 1, it should have been maybe 4 or 5 equals 1. But currently, Matt, with all his players not playing the positions that he drafted them as, is at a negative 54, and I am just smoking the competition at negative 25. So, I'll be brainstorming in the off season. How can we spice this up, make it a little better? But we've done this to ourselves.
It's crazy how long we sat between, like, give or take 5 around the number 0, and the last, like, month, both of us just, like...
And Matt, to your credit, okay, because you're just getting so unlucky with your hitters, you have, like, 4 of, like, the 6 best pitching staffs in terms of giving up home runs. Like, you did really well in that department. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So yeah, none of this matters when I don't have a team playing. My team goes out and pitches, and they're trying really hard, but we're basically the Pirates. Like, we go out, we pitch a great game, it's a quality start, and we lose because it turns out none of our batters came. Like,
right. Well, there you have it. There's the update there. I'm excited to see how low we can go. How far can these numbers drop by the end of the season? That's what I'm excited to see. So we'll keep track, and then
we got to get you in this next year, Dallas.
Yeah, maybe we can find a way to work.
There's 30 teams.
We'll see.
I'm gonna make it better next year. I have some ideas up my sleeve. So.
All right. Well, we'll keep everybody in suspense on that. But for this year, it's going to be fun to watch the. It's like you're watching a fundraising thermometer, but if you flip it upside down, like it's just like completely just going all the way. But all right, so let us round out the show as we always do our baseball episode with our dingers and stingers for the week. This is our segment where we give one good thing a dinger and one bad thing a stinger from the world of sports for the week. So this is where we can expand our sports minds a little bit to other sports, but we want to do it on the baseball episode because we're in season here, so want to load it up. So let us start with our stingers, as we always do, and let's start with Matt for your stinger for the week, if you would.
Yeah, so my stinger, I'm moving away from baseball a little bit because I just crashed out about the Padres. I'm going to crash out a little bit about the Rams. Troy fucking Reader. If you've listened to the show, if you're one of our religious followers, he is somebody that I've complained about in the past. He's somebody who I have said does not make sense on this team. He is someone that universally Rams fans do despise quite a lot, and mostly because of when he's on the field, he's very bad. And we invested a lot into our inside linebackers this offseason. We drafted 2 guys, and we have these. It was this beautiful group, and we end up, one of the guys we got was Chris Paul Jr., considered one of the steals of the draft. We got him in the 5th. A lot of teams had him as a 2nd or 3rd round guy, and he plays great in the preseason. Like his tape is awesome. And all of a sudden it comes time for cut down day, and you start seeing rumors, and it's like, oh, we have rumors that Chris Paul might not make the team, and his nickname's Poo Paul, so Poo Paul might not make the team. No one's quite sure what happened. Lo and behold, they cut him because they just value the experience Troy Reeder brings, and it frustrates me so, because I even called my dad and told him, I was like, my biggest fear is that he's going to end up on the Niners or the Seahawks, and we're going to end up having to watch, our draft pick and Ernest Jones destroy our run game for the next 4 years. And you want to know where he ended up, guys? You want to know where he is? Dallas, do you know the answer?
I've read the rundown, so yes.
Yeah, he's on the Seahawks. So, it's just a little kick in the pants for me. That wasn't fun. We also, there was this whole thing. We let go of one of our one of our centers. He was like my off-season sweetheart. I fell in love with him at the Senior Bowl and watching his tape, and he was awesome. His name's Willie Lampkin. He's going to be great. And there's this little unwritten rule in the NFL that if you waive a guy in the offseason, like at this point, with an injury designation, the other teams are supposed to respect that and allow you to re-sign him to your to your IR, because it takes up a different IR slot. It's a whole little thing. And 31 out of 32 teams respected the unwritten rule. That 32nd team, being the Eagles, did not. They claimed this guy who we waived with an injury designation, and they put him onto their IR. And it just sucks, and it's like, I don't blame the Eagles for doing it, because you get good players when you have the chance, and unwritten rules, by definition, are not actual rules. So they didn't do anything wrong in my head. It just makes me mad that the Rams let themselves have a player taken from them who clearly was going to be good and showed he was good. And also, I was right on him all along, and to watch my team draft or sign him, and then, he performs and the whole thing. It's been a tough week for old Maddie here. So, yeah, a lot of steam.
I have a question, because, you're a much deeper level football fan than me. Is waiving a guy with an injury designation, does that automatically mean he is like legitimately injured, or is that something teams try to sneaky do to keep more guys and finagle the roster?
I think it's a good mix of both there. I think it's one of those things like, oh man, this guy, rolled his ankle running warm-ups at practice. Well, we can just waive him with an injury designation and hopefully bring him back on the practice squad or throw him on the PUP or whatever. And it's a way of finagling the rosters. But at the same time, there are guys with legitimate injuries where it's like, man, that sucks. Like a late round pick rookie who, breaks his hand or something in practice. It's like, it gives them a chance to stick on a roster without taking up roster spots, which is obviously a huge part in football. Is, every season after the preseason ends, about just shy of 40 guys get cut from every single team. Sometimes it's a little bit less because guys get cut through the progression of the preseason. But when you think about that, 30 teams cutting like 30 plus players, it's a lot of players who get cut. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, being able to keep some of these guys on in non-standard ways like that is valuable. And you only get so many injury designations. So being able to use it as this injury designation versus a true IR is huge. Because you only get so many IR spots for a season. So it's tough, but it is what it is. I'm sad. I mean, these weren't guys that were going to be playing for us this year, but it's guys who I thought would be a good, solid part of this team in the years to come. So I'll probably forget about this next week when the season starts, but I'm going to be mad about it right now.
And that's what, the 53-man cut day is for. It's for guys like Matt who, fall in love with their guy, their scrappy underdog. I do it too at times when there's one that the Seahawks get that that makes me feel that way. And that's who 53-man cut day is for. It's for us who, really invest, and then, it feels like, you cut a Pro Bowler in a way because of what you
I
envision for
am
them.
absolutely, I am absolutely the target audience of like the Hard Knock scenes where they make you fall in love with the D2 kid and his family gets invited to the final preseason game and then they cut him the next episode. I am the target audience for that because I watched that kid's tape probably. I watched his college highlights. It sucks.
Yeah, well, let's keep the stinging rolling, and let's go over to Drew and talk about your stinger for this week.
Yeah, my stinger is something we briefly mentioned earlier, but it's Zach Wheeler missing the rest of the season, including the postseason, the playoffs. It's a big bummer for the Phillies. I'm not saying I definitely want the Phillies to win the World Series this year. There's a lot of teams I like. My team is still in the running, so there's all that. But just the Phillies for the last few years have been, in my opinion, a very likable bunch. A lot of players I really like on that team. Zach Wheeler has been a massive, massive part of that. And with guys getting older and contracts running out of time and stuff like that, it kind of seems like this might be the last year for the Phillies to really go all out to try to win the World Series. I'm not saying they won't be competitive in the next couple of years, but like this felt like the last year of this core group. And for Zach Wheeler to be not a part of that is a bummer for two reasons. The biggest reason is it lowers their chances of being successful. They still have a good pitching staff. There's, good guys over there. Christopher Sanchez has been awesome this year, but it really is a bummer for him too. Like if they do make a run like they've had the last couple of years, it sucks to be the guy sitting out of that. So I feel for him. I feel for the Phillies. And you just never want to hear that kind of thing.
Yeah. For the Phils, it's just one of those things where the last few postseasons, something has snapped at some point. Whether it was a couple years ago when for some reason the whole team goes cold out of nowhere, or last year when, just the fortune did not turn their way and they met, kind of a team that had like team of destiny feeling, kind of situation. It feels like might be the start of this year's version of that for Phillies fans, or at least that might be their reaction to it is, oh no, it's starting again. Freak stuff is happening. Never a good sign for a fan base that's going to need to rally behind these guys to give them that good atmosphere for those series. Okay, but let's end with the good here, and let's talk about some dingers for this week. So, Matt, let's go ahead and go back to you for your dinger for this week.
Yeah, short and sweet. That 50th home run was super cool. Despite it coming against the Padres, I thought it was very exciting. I am a fan of Big Dumper. It was fun to see at least an exciting, Eddie Vedder Cup finale. We lost this round, but we'll get him next year. But yeah, I mean, it was dope. You're watching history. Like anytime you get to watch history in sports, I feel like it's a special moment you shouldn't take for granted. So I had a good time with that.
I think the Mariners, I assume the Mariners made it, but it might have been made by somebody else. But like they had a guitar with both teams' logos on them, and it said like Vedder Cup on it, and they were holding it after the game was over. So, hopefully we'll see that. Like I made fun of it when they did rivalry weekend and it was Padres and Mariners, but like the teams, they might try to make it into something. And so at least something fun.
I think it
not
could
like
be
a
fun
real
because they're
one.
both very.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Eddie
one of
Vedder
those,
was
like,
there.
Well, dude, my favorite part was they brought him on the broadcast, and they were like talking to him about it, and they're like, "So, like, what does it mean to you to be part of this and all this stuff?" And he's like, "I didn't know it was happening." Like, it's like such a random thing, and like famously he is just a Cubs fan, so it was like, cool, man. Like, if we can turn this into something, great, because I enjoy the Mariners, so I would enjoy getting to play them, every year or every couple of years, whatever. So,
Yeah. it'd be fun, and hopefully that guitar makes a reappearance at some point in some of those games. It could be like the Stanley Cup. You have all the teams sign it somewhere, like on the back and really small. Like you have all the lineups at
And it
least.
just says Mariners 25, Padres 26,
Yes.
Mariners
Yes.
27.
Exactly. We can turn it into something. Okay, let's bounce back over to Drew for your dinger of the week to close us out.
Yeah, my dinger is not specific. It's more of just a broad thing, but I'm excited that football season's coming back. I think if you break up our podcast, Matt's the football guy, I'm the baseball guy, but we both like both, and I do like when football comes back. This is my favorite time of year, really, is when football and baseball are both going on at the same time, and it turns into playoff baseball, and it's early season football, and the weather, if you live somewhere that's not here, starts to change. And I love this time of year, so I'm excited. We just had our fantasy football draft this past weekend. That's always a ton of fun to do. And yeah, so I'm just happy. We're a week out from the first NFL game, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that in our episode that we're going to record 4 days from now, wearing the same exact clothes. But yeah, I'm just excited. Good to be back.
What was each of your guys' favorite pick from the fantasy draft for your own team?
Of our own team.
My own team.
What are you most excited about?
my own team.
Which guy did you get that you are most excited about?
Well, the
don't
most
know.
excited.
What round you got them?
The most excited I am about any pick is lame. I had the second pick overall, and I chose Bijan Robinson. He's the player I'm most excited to have. But in terms of maybe a sneaky pick that I like, I'm gonna have to look at my roster real quick because I wasn't prepared for this question. But Matt, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I got both the Washington Commanders and Chicago Bears running back rooms. I have, count them, 6 running backs on this team. All of them belong to those 2 teams.
Yeah.
It's worked for me in the past, man. It's worked. So I said, let's get back to it.
Yeah, I think I'll go with it was like a 12th round. I want to say it was 12th round when I picked him, but Kyle Williams from the New England Patriots. He's a rookie wide receiver. We'll see if he contributes. I kind of have high hopes for him. And anytime you can get someone like that late, it's potentially exciting. We'll see.
Yeah. So I think mine, I guess, I don't know. I did. Okay, I'll do this one because it is something different than I've done before. I've never drafted a tight end before, the 8th round before. I've never really done that before. I do not believe in it. But I was in a position where I wasn't getting the receivers that I wanted through the first 2 rounds. And so in place of a receiver where I would have normally drafted one, I didn't like any of those options. So I took Trey McBride early on in the beginning of the 3rd or something like that. That is going to, that's one that it's a break from what I normally do. And so, it's a risk to take as far as, roster construction and what I'm comfortable with. But I feel like, if I had to pick a Cardinal, I guess Trey McBride's fine. And I can guarantee he'll give me what I want. So I'll go with that one because it was a break from what I normally do, and hopefully it'll work out. But I will, be unable to stop keeping an eye on the players I could have drafted at wide receiver at that spot for the whole season because I didn't like the options, but we'll see. All right, so that'll do it.
Favorite.
Okay. Go ahead.
You can go. You can go. I was just going to.
I want to hear. I want to hear what you're going to say.
I was going to say my favorite moment from the draft was right before we start. Dallas goes, you know what? Famously, Dallas somehow always ends up with the first pick, and he hates it. This year, he was pick 6. He got to choose pick 6 for himself, and he goes, I'm so excited this year because I can just let the draft come to me. And we get in no more than 3rd round, 4th round, would you say, Drew? And Dallas, it's him on the clock, and he goes, I hate this. He's like, I hate
Really?
this. And it was like, the draft's coming to you, man.
It's a better idea.
Hey, the players are there.
It's a better idea in theory than it turned out to be in practice, I think. But I think I made the best of it. I have the second highest projected point total for week 1. So you know what? I think my team's gonna be all right. We'll see. I think we're doing pretty good.
Huge.
But okay, so that'll do it for this week's baseball episode of Dingers and Stingers. We appreciate you for watching. If you tuned in, let us know in the comments, some of these close awards races. We want to hear your thoughts. We'd also like to hear your thoughts if you think one of these teams with a larger division lead might drop out of it. If you have some crazy takes like that, we'd love to hear them as well. And so you can follow us, subscribe to us here on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers. We're going to be going live for at least the first half of Cowboys versus Eagles. For NFL Week 1, we're going to have a hybrid episode, so it's going to be a live episode where we can react to the game, but also we're going to have our NFL, playoff field predictions and Super Bowl predictions during that episode as well. So make sure you tune in if you want to hear any of that. Again, thank you for listening if you stuck around with us, and we appreciate all the love and support. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.